Hey A&Pers, this is Dr. Jones checking in. I am still at school waiting for my ride, so let's do another review video where we cover the skull in more detail. So there's your friendly skull. Yeah, it's almost Halloween, right? Okay, so name the bone, frontal bone, and name this line, coronal suture. Name these two bones, parietal bones, and name the line between them, sagittal suture. Rotate. Okay. Name this bone, the occipital bone, and name this line. This is the lambdoidal suture or the occipitoparietal suture because it's between the occipit and the two parietals. I'll show you outside. It's a nice day today. Isn't it lovely? Lots of green. Okay. And name this bone, temporal bone. And what is this line? That is the squamous suture. Okay, so let's see if we can name these structures. That's the supraorbital foramen, or supraorbital notch. That works too. So I'm going to take the top off. And then what is this hole right here? Foramen magnum. And what are these two structures on the anterior towards the face? Anterior aspect? Occipital condyles. Excellent. And then pipe cleaner. What is that tiny hole right there? Hypoglossal canal. You got it. Okay, let's see, what do we cover next? We cover the temporal bone next. Okay, so what is this part or region of the bone? It's the squamous part, right next to the squamous suture. And what is this part of the bone? It's the zygomatic process. And what is this bone? The zygomatic bone. And what is this part? The temporal process, which is part of the zygomatic bone. And what are these two together? The zygomatic arch. Excellent. And what's the ear hole here? External acoustic meatus. And what's this big bump? Mastoid process. And the little skinny bump? Styloid process. And what's that bit where the mandible is attached? Oh, hello, all the way. That bit where the mandible was the mandibular fossa. Okay, going inside now. What are these mountain ranges? Those are the petrous parts. Okay, and we already covered this. Let's just go through all the holes in the skull since we're here. This is the foramen magnum. And then that little hole right there, hypoglossal canal. And then that great big hole. Oops, there it is. Jugular foramen. And then this one on the posterior aspect of the petrous part that does not go through is the internal acoustic meatus. You got it. And then that little round hole goes through. That is the carotid canal. And now let's start medial. The lacy edged one, that was your hint. Foramen lacerum. And then that perfectly oval one, that was your hint. Foramen ovale. And the teensy weensy one has to have a great big long name, right? So that's the foramen spinosum. And now we have to tip this up. I'm not sure if I can hold the skull and the pipe cleaner and the phone. Okay, that perfectly round one right there, which I can't focus on because it keeps focusing on my hand. Okay, so that is the foramen rotundum. And then the banana is the superior orbital fissure. And then that one Okay, got it. Optic canal. There we go. So this whole area here is the sella turcica, and the bottom part is the hypophyseal fossa. While we're here, this little wedge is the crista galli, and the indent around it is the cribriform plate. Okay, so where the eyeballs live, not where the wild things live, but where the eyeballs live, that whole thing is the orbit. And inside the orbit, all right, I'll get this lined up. Okay, that hole, the round hole is the optic canal, and the banana is the superior orbital fissure. That was supposed to be a question. Okay, what's the round hole? Optic canal. And what's the banana? Superior orbital fissure. Excellent. Okay, let me set that down. Okay, name the bone. Nasal bone. And what is this line right here? Frontonasal suture between the frontal bone and the nasal bones. What is this part, the superior portion of the bony nasal septum, called? That is the perpendicular plate. What is the inferior portion of the bony nasal septum called? That is the vomer. What bone is this? The maxilla. And what's that hole? That is the inferior orbital foramen. And name the bone, zygomatic bone. Name the specific part that I'm touching. There you go. It's the temporal process. And what is this specific part? The zygomatic process. What bone is it part of? The temporal bone. And what's the whole cheekbone together? The zygomatic arch. And what goes under there is like the temporalis muscle, and it attaches to the shark's tooth. What's the shark's tooth called? Coronoid process. Now that's spelled differently than the one in the shoulder. What's the shoulder one? The coracoid process, which is different than the one in the elbow. What's the one in the elbow called? Coronoid process and fossa. Okay, so what is this notch right here? The mandibular notch. And then this sticky outy part is the condylar process. And then the curved joint surface at the top is the head. Okay. So this is the body, the angle, and we talked about the spelling, right? There's between angle and angel. Makes a difference. And then this part that goes up from the angle is the ramus. And the horseshoe-shaped area where the teeth are attached, alveolar process. The hole in the front is your mental foramen, because your chin is your mental region. And this hole on the medial aspect of the ramus, it's hiding. That is your mandibular foramen. Okay, and name the bone. Mandible. Excellent. Okay, what is this horseshoe-shaped area where the teeth are attached? The alveolar process, right? And what is this part here? Palatine process, and name the bone with my fingertips on it. That is the palatine bone. And what is this bone right here? That is the vomer from the back. Okay, I dropped something, sorry. Okay, what did we forget on the skull? I'm sure there's something. It's got to be more complex than that. No, that's enough. Given the amount of time we have, that is plenty. So for the holes in the skull, I would probably focus on the superior view, the interior skull view. Trying to give you some other views so that you get kind of a better idea of what's happening here. That's one thing you would do if you were in person, is look at it from all the different views to get kind of a three-dimensional picture in your head. So, all right, well, that's what I can think of then for, I guess we haven't done the sinuses. The frontal sinuses will be right here in the frontal bone. The maxillary sinuses will be here and here in the maxilla. And the rest of them you can't see from here. You need a mid-sagittal for that. So, all right, this has been Dr. Jones with a skull review video. The education must go on. Dr. J out.